Today on Chris Dyer's Creative Friends.
We want to create, we're curious, we want to experience, you know what I mean? More so than other living things that we know. And I think all things are living in a macro level, but I think what makes us human is that desire. There's opportunity everywhere. And every time a door closes, it's a wonderful thing because now there's like limitless opportunities doing anything else, you know what I mean? It also feels like there's no excuse not to do my art. Sometimes I can't sleep at night because I'm like, what are you doing? Like, you're literally in a place right now where you should be making your art. Like, get up and do what you're supposed to be doing. So there's that perspective, of you come from a place where things feel a little bit like there's less resources, and you're now in a place where there are resources.
Abundance.
Yeah, like, okay, well then get your ass up and do shit about it, Make a decision. Are you gonna do it or you're not gonna do it? If you're gonna do it, just do it. And dive in and don't look back. Try to find somebody who's gonna be critical of your art.
Yeah.
Try to find someone who's gonna tell you when your shit's whack.
Yeah.
I think that's really important. I want to know what you think about the structures under the Pyramid of Giza and whether that's very, like how, I always believe that all the ancient structures had been here from before our timeline of humanity. But now I guess there's a lot of buzz around, like they did like these like photo radar readings and they confirm that there's like mega structures of the pyramids. I don't know how much of it is verifiable, but.
No, they found stuff and you're seeing images of it and you're like, what? It goes, what? 6 kilometers deep, something like that. It's just very crazy deep, yeah. Ambitious. Like the pyramid in itself is like, wow, that's a mountain of rocks. That's crazy. And the fact that it has tunnels, but the fact that it has like an even bigger situation under it, like that you gotta carve into the earth. Like it's just humbling to how little we know and how much we don't know, and our potential, because it's not just like, oh, aliens came, they built it, they dug out. And I think, humans were at a high level of consciousness at some point in our history, and they were working with aliens and their technologies, but it just shows where we could go if we really stopped all the bullshit.
Well, the accepted timeline of history is so limited. It makes no sense. Like, you know what I mean? Like what like the general non-supposedly pseudo, because that's what they consider it, like pseudo history, which is not. Like there's, I read like what's his name?
Hancock?
Yeah, I read Fingerprints of the Gods when I was like really young, so it made an impression on me.
Nice.
And I also take everything with a grain of salt. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't think I believe anything.
Okay.
Like, I honestly believe, like, not in the sense that I don't have my beliefs, but I feel like everything I believe is up to change. Like it could be like the evidence I will accept evidence to make me think otherwise if the evidence is there. Who knows? Maybe this whole entire thing is just an entire projection in a matrix. You know what I mean? It made that like to its entirety. Like, I just don't believe anything solidly enough to make me think that there aren't going to be things out there to change the way I think. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I think there's like a healthy amount of doubt to everything.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, everything is an illusion, really. Like, what is reality?
Right,
reality could just be like, the dream of God, and we're characters in it, and we think reality is as we perceive it, but we could be very blindsided by so much. I like believing in things. So you don't believe in anything, or in that particular?
No, I love believing in things. Okay. But what I meant by that is that I'm not like one of those convicted believers who just know it, and there's no way you could challenge what I think.
That's rigid. That's stuck. And
dude, I grew up evangelical Christian, so that's that kind of thinking. Like, no, like this is the truth and the way, and nothing outside of that will even be.
I find that to be very arrogant. That's why, like, I think belief is actually a good thing. I can go very wholeheartedly and be like, I believe in this. That is a fact.
Right.
I believe in it. Is it true? I don't know. Who can tell? How can we measure that? But still, my belief is true, and that's all I got. And you don't have to agree with it. You don't have to believe the same thing. But my beliefs come from feelings, perhaps, or and I accept that they could be wrong too. But I don't know. I think beliefs is a beautiful thing.
I like being in an environment where people are open enough to be okay with that. But again, there's environments like Hispanic Christians are pretty hardcore, bro.
Ah,
You know what I mean? But like, yeah, I guess it's nice to be in an environment where you can be open about your beliefs and it's not like detrimental that you think differently than the way you're supposed to or whatever, you know?
yeah, right or wrong beliefs. Like, there's a lot of that in our world. These days, the topics are different from the topics of our parents. In the days of our parents, like, the beliefs is like, oh, women should use this kind of skirt, not that kind of skirt. These days, it's almost like, my beliefs is like, I want everybody to walk naked down the street, and that's what's correct in my. So it's really according to the particular person, and yeah, I don't like to force anybody into anything. And belief is something inside yourself. You can't lie to yourself. You either believe in something or not. If it resonates or not.
So this is your sponsor. I mean, I
Yeah.
know we're not started yet, but this
Yeah, no.
microdosing on what?
This
The
is
mushrooms?
psilocybin mushroom gummies.
Oh, cool. You buy
It's,
that here in Tampa?
They are from Denver.
Okay,
Or
that makes
from
sense.
Colorado. And I only got one here, Pauline. I need a second one.
You need a second one?
Yeah, I know. Do you want to
No,
eat some?
no, I'm okay. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
cool. All right, well, we're filming already. Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to another episode of Chris Dyer's Creative Friends.
Got a corner?
You want a little corner?
I want a little nibble of it.
Sure, take a little nibble.
You can have it all.
This
I'm just
is this show is brought to you by Yak Snacks. Yak Snacks are these delicious mushroom gummies that are now sponsoring this awesome, super awesome podcast show. I'm so grateful. I'm gonna eat my microdose for the episode, and by the end of the episode, hopefully it's already starting to work and will lift my mood extra happy that I am. But I'm so happy to be here today. Thank you so much, Carlos, for having me over.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, how are things doing for you today?
Good. It's a good day.
We had a good breakfast?
Yes, sir. Yes, we did.
Nice. So how long have we known each other, Carlos?
I think I met you 2017, 18-ish. Does that sound correct to you?
I believe I met you at Zen Awakening Festival 2015.
2015, so yeah. It was definitely Zen Awakening.
And you had your murals there, which I was like, oh my God, this is like brush painted, super intricate studio work in the hippie scenario music festival. And I was like, wow, this is different. And I really appreciate your work. And then we got to paint murals together at Okeechobee 2017. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah, for sure.
That was super fun. We had couches around us so we could perform with bands.
Well, that was really cool because I was right next to you. So I think I got to see your process and, you know.
Sorry if I fumed you out with too much spray paint.
It's okay, man. I hadn't touched a spray can at that point in my life, but I have a lot since.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
And most recently, I caught you at Halloween Music Festival 2022, I believe. You're painting a mural also. So how is it for you to paint murals at music festivals? How's that aspect of your art?
I mean, I like painting art. I'll be honest with you. Even though I appreciate all the opportunities I had at festivals, it was definitely really cool, good opportunity to make friends, a great opportunity to see other artists doing their thing in their way and learning from them. But festivals, I think the handful of festivals I've done, like 3 out of 5 of them are the ones that you saw me at. So I've only done it like maybe 5, 6 times. Yeah.
Because you're more like a studio painter, right?
I'm a studio painter.
Yeah. But you started doing a lot of murals.
Yeah. It was challenging because you're live painting and I was used to the intimate being by yourself in your studio thing. So it's cool because it challenged me and it got me out of my comfort zone and it taught me to even paint faster.
Yeah, totally. I'm always impressed when somebody's painting a mural with brushes because that's way slower than spray paint. So like, yeah, and you're there like at a festival with a lot of people talking to you and you're trying to concentrate on getting that mixed color just in the right spot with the right brush stroke, and you know, you need to concentrate for things like that.
Bro, I like to tell you I was sitting there and just having fun. And I was a little bit, but no, I was working. I was painting because I was using a paintbrush, you know, and water-based paints. It like I remember being at the festival and really just painting the whole time. Maybe not taking a lot of time to go have fun outside of my area of creative energy.
I do lots of festivals where I'm just painting and I'm done and everybody's going to watch Tipper and I'm like, I'm tired, I'm gonna go to my tent to sleep because I'm being in the sun all day sucking in fumes.
Tipper and Friends was another one that I think we painted.
Okay, cool.
No, you were paint. Was that the one where you painted the entire entrance?
That was Halloween.
That was Halloween. That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Okay.
I have. Well, that's the same place as Tipper and Friends, but
That's
I've
right.
not done that festival. Yeah. So how is painting murals in general? Just on the streets? Like, do you get a few walls out here in Tampa?
I have a handful of walls here in Tampa. I like it. My thing is really studio art, and I do a lot of murals, but it really excited me. There was a small time here in Tampa, like a little era where murals started to really pop up. There wasn't really a lot of it, and it was just really exciting seeing other artists do murals. So I felt more like a little bit of like a challenge of like, ooh, look, public walls and big ones. Try to get out there and put my art on walls like that.
Yeah.
And at the same time, just appreciating the artists who here locally were starting to do that and being noticed for it.
Nice.
Yeah.
So this is your studio. How long have you been here?
6 months, I think.
Oh yeah, so you're new. And this is the Crest building?
Crest Contemporary in Ybor City.
Okay, tell me about your studio, the Crest building, Ybor City, your neighbors. What's the vibe out here?
Well, Ybor City is awesome because it's a historic neighborhood, a lot of history. It's also kind of a weird place because there's so much potential and there's always a lot of kind of like red tape around being able to do things because it is a historic neighborhood. For example, if you walk out in the streets,
there's that giant big white wall.
Oh no, there's like 7 giant big white walls.
I'm like, why is no mural here?
Thank you, I agree with you. And I think that it's almost difficult for people to come in a place like this and create art because there's a lot of like, what do you call it, like neighborhood committees and things that make decisions on what goes up and what doesn't go up, and building owners. I have a close friend of mine who's really trying to get murals up on those walls, painted by local artists and maybe some outside artists. And they have the same rules and regulations that you would have for like sign painting. So, that makes it hard, but hopefully something will click soon. Yeah.
Yeah, I hope so, because I think it's a travesty and a crime to have giant white walls in a cool neighborhood and not be able to paint it.
And I want to paint weird shit. I want to paint cool stuff, like I haven't traveled outside the country much, but I went to Puerto Rico recently, and the public street art there, man, it's like so much more edgy. You know what I mean? And I feel like we have a tendency in Tampa as a culture to kind of like stay within trends.
It's just, when it's up to these stiff bureaucrats to decide what art makes it or not, they'll probably be like, oh, we got to do something that's super historical because this is a historical thing. Like, you go to a place where there's lots of alligators, like, oh, well, you got to paint a mural of an alligator. It's like, okay, I get it. They're there. It's similar. But how about let me invent you an animal you've never seen before? Can I do that?
Yeah.
Can we keep on moving culture forward and invent new forms of art that haven't been here before, as opposed to always doing the same thing just because we did it before? And I know, like, we got to keep on moving, into the future.
Oh, I agree. And I also want to say, what stiff bureaucrats? I love those people. Please let me paint your walls. Those people are awesome, dude. They really, that's the thing, is that I think deep down, people individually really do want incredible art. It really comes down to what people like, and we just need to shift from staying in the safe zone and doing things that are a little bit more risky. And I'm not even talking about, it's not like I'm gonna put a bunch of dicks and weird shit on the walls.
Yeah.
It's just doing things that evoke a little bit more thought. You know what
just
I mean?
Originality, because okay, like Ybor will always be Ybor just because of the architecture.
Mm-hmm.
And if you put a mural, of course, maybe 1 or 2 murals can be old school time Ybor, but after that, it's about who's here doing art today and what are they doing and what are they saying? Can we say new things? So, yeah, I hope you get a big wall eventually out here and paint something really trippy and mind opening and that.
They're afraid of political things that are divisive, but I'm talking about cool, edgy, universal art. I do make art that I think is universal enough to where you can be of any walks of life and hopefully connect with it to some extent.
Yeah. That's a big philosophical question. What is oneness? What is art that everybody can be okay with? Well, because they will decide like, oh, that's not me. So now I'm against it. That's all perspectives, but you can only be yourself. And if you're being yourself and you're expressing authentically, I think you're doing great. Tell me more about this building though, because it seems like there's a really cool community. There's a few cool artists here, like you got Ashley Cantero right next to
That's
you, and who else is in this building? What's happening here?
Oh man, so many artists, and I don't want to leave anybody out. But yeah, Ashley Cantero, she's one of my good friends and awesome, incredible like street artist. She has like a streetwear brand and those all kinds of cool projects. Chase Parker is also in the building. He's absolutely incredible. His art is very different from what I'm used to seeing.
Is he the guy doing the mannequins?
He does like these like sculptural butterfly things.
Yeah.
But beyond that, he's just a really incredible person. Very professional, really cares about the art community, very willing to share his resources and his, you know what I mean? He doesn't try to keep people away from his collectors and things like that. He really tries to bring artists out to you. He's probably one of the people that's really helping elevate the local art scene. Yeah.
Great.
So I'm happy to be really good friends with him. He's
Nice.
here.
He's super nice. We stopped at his studio on one of those open nights that you guys got, and we just picked his brain. And he was telling us about like getting in with like hotels that then buy your art for a lot of money, and then they got like a chain of them. So then they always need more art, and if you get in with the right people, and I don't want to disclose too much of that conversation, because perhaps it was private, but I remember a big part of it's like a big part of my art job is going to the right parties and meeting the people who will actually buy my art.
Which is so necessary. In order to thrive, putting your work in front of the right people. And a lot of artists naturally don't know how to do that. So it's cool when there's people to bridge that gap, who also believe in art. You know what I mean?
Right.
The roots of art.
You got to get out there. Like, of course, like your art can be crappy and just go and make friends with the right people and that's that. No, like make good art, but also go out there and meet the people who will put your art.
And be genuine about it too. I don't know which camera we're looking at, but I think also being genuine, because you also don't want to be, I don't think it's wise to be the kind of person that tries to get on the table with the right people, but your intention is fully just self-serving.
You're right.
You know what I mean? So I think
convenido, as we say in Spanish.
Convenido, exactly.
There's not that
Aprovechado
word.
too.
There's a lot of words missing in English when it comes to convenidos or conchudo. That's a very Peruvian one. Somebody who just takes and takes and takes.
You don't want to eat out of somebody else's plate.
Yeah.
I think he really builds himself up that when he sits on those tables, he and I'm learning a lot of that, you're actually bringing something of quality that you believe in.
Yeah, totally. So it's a really nice building. There's different galleries and there's parties here.
Tempest Project is downstairs. The Honey Gallery is downstairs. Again, I'm going to feel so bad for leaving other ones out.
Tony, what's his gallery?
Merge Culture.
Merge Culture.
He's no longer in the building, but yeah, Tony is definitely like, he's big in the Tampa art community.
Yeah. How is the Tampa art scene?
It's really weird, which is cool. There's a lot of work to be done. There's also been a lot of change, because when I was an artist in Tampa, in my 20s, there was no art community. There was no industry. You know what I mean? I still did art, but now we're in a place, I think, where we just got to keep working towards making it a solid community. Yeah.
But it's building up, and it seems like buildings like this help at least put a bunch of cool artists together to make fun events.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, inspire each other.
And I think it's about doing what you can with what you got. I think it's easy to be a young artist who is like hungry for like, I don't know, success or whatever, and think you have to go somewhere. But I think that it's more about like what you do where you are, especially if you're helping to build something versus going somewhere where it's already built. Yeah.
Totally. No, it's more exciting to be part of the culture that you're creating as opposed to just like jumping on board on the trends or whatever. Let's talk about your art, man. You got very cool, well done, beautiful art.
Thank you.
That I observe both as visionary art, but more on the surreal, dreamy kind of tip. it's almost like a visit of the subconscious. That's how I observe it, and it's also not very clear what's happening, like to me. And you know, it's hard to classify all of your art because you got different branches. You got your felt styles with those cute little characters, and you got your drawings, but your surreal things, like the things that you got behind you, it's almost like Salvador Dali and Alex Gray had a baby. So what are your
Cute.
what's your art about? Your influences, your energy, what you're saying?
I hate the term dreamlike for my art.
Okay, I'm sorry.
But no, I'm about no. Please, let me finish. This is the truth. I have a extremely strong connection with my dreams. Right? Like I remember dreams from when I was like 2 or 3 years old, 4, 5, 6, and they're so profound and so symbolic that it really, without any other influence other than within myself, I'm able to recognize the immensity of reality. You know what I mean? Because how is it that we can dream what we dream? Now, I have like a very strong relationship with my dreams. I dream every night. You know what I mean? I don't sleep because like when I go to bed, it's like I'm going to a different world.
Yeah.
And I practice a lot of dream control, lucid dreaming. I've learned to be aware of being in a dream without waking up pretty solid. And I mean,
that's great. Because every
night,
time I notice I'm dreaming, then I wake up.
Yeah, it's like a practice, man. It's practice. So yeah, I think it's something in connection with the subconscious. It's always been difficult to know what my art is about. It's almost like what the individual art piece is about. I also think that it's like all these different voices trying to take the wheel. So that's why some artwork might look in one way and some in a different way. The ink sketches usually are what eventually become paintings, right?
They're great.
These little whimsical paintings here, I did those when I was like maybe 25, 26.
Okay,
yeah, 26.
So it's something you were doing for some years.
No, well, I was teaching adults with special needs, and we worked with a lot of craft material, and I think I was mimicking the way they make art, which is not, you know, there's not a lot of like it's not like you're sketching something, coming up with your composition and building towards a painting. It's more like in the moment, like just create art with what you got.
Yeah.
You know, like a few of the, like.
It's more naive.
The alien doll I have there, he's like a multi-dimensional alien with all the eyes on his chest. I wanted to make that doll at home when I got home from work, and I moved the back of my couch, and it was like a fake leather couch, and I cut all the leather out of it and made that doll. Wow. So all of these are more like making art with what I got in hand.
He looks like a character from Funkadelic.
Oh, hell yeah, I love that.
Bootsy Collins kind of mode. What's with the dolls? Like, is that like a way of doing, is that like a Mexican style of art that's been done?
Well, I'm also not Mexican, I'm from Guatemala.
It is Guatemalteco.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah. So I'm from Guatemala.
Yeah, that's like the worst insult when you're not from Mexico and they call you a Mexican. It's like, oh, please.
That's so funny. I'm not gonna. Yeah, that is really funny.
Do you remember from what country I'm from?
Peru.
Okay.
Yeah, of course.
I was hoping you'd forget.
Isn't that in Mexico though?
Sorry?
No, I'm just kidding.
No, I like Guatemala. I've been to Guatemala 2 times.
Okay.
Yeah. Todos Santos, which was a really interesting city in the mountains with its own clothing and language. And then I went to Tikal once too.
Dude, Guatemala's gnarly. I lived in the city. A lot of my art can be dark, and I came to the realization of this like 3 months ago. But I have trauma from growing up in Guatemala. I saw, like when I was a kid, it's a dangerous place to live. And when I was a kid, my mother and my 2 siblings and I, we witnessed somebody being beaten probably close to death. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it didn't click how weird and not normal that was until like a few months ago. Because I think I was trying to explore why my art tends to maybe lean sometimes towards being a little dark. You know what I mean? Being heavy. I think my art can be a little heavy. Or it feels like it to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. What years did you live in Guatemala?
I was born in 89. I moved to America in 2000.
Okay. So all of at what age?
I was 11.
Okay. So 11 years. Yeah, it's all your youth. I understand the trauma of growing up in Latin America, because Lima, even though I was like upper class in Lima, there's crime everywhere. Like I'm the one who's getting robbed you know, for being, I guess, light skinned or whatever, or sticking out, or having a cool hat or whatever made that person want to take my stuff.
Yeah.
But then there's terrorism, there's explosions, there's like.
I mean, there's fucked up shit everywhere.
Yeah,
you know what I
no,
mean?
there's lots
But
of
you're right. In
violence.
Guatemala, you can't visit there and wear like, I don't know, your Nikes and your gold necklace. You can't do that. You know,
Yeah.
and you're warned. Like people tell you, like, dress. You know what I mean? Like, don't wear brand clothes. People will steal like your Converse. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I thought of Converse because that happened to my cousin. He lived over there. He lives here now, but somebody had sent him a nice pair of Converse, so he thought that shit was so cool. Because it's cool. Like it's so. I don't know how things are now, but in the 90s in Guatemala, like if you had something cool from like America, it was like the coolest thing ever. You know what I
yeah.
mean? Like if you had like I don't know, like a good pair of Nikes or like a cool toy. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, well, and also in Peru, there was no importation
Right.
till 1990. So my whole childhood, you couldn't get GI Joes. You couldn't get Santa Cruz skateboards. You couldn't get cool clothes. It was all bootleg, kind of looking stuff. But
Yeah, my
not the
dad
real
brought
thing.
us GI Joes from America, but then they got stolen. And our Ninja Turtles too, they got stolen.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I got my house emptied 2 times.
Oh, that's worse.
Yeah, they took my Atari both times. And I was like, come on, can't I just keep an Atari?
Yeah, bro, my dad got like somebody knocked on our door and he had just started a business that was going really well. And somebody stole his car at gunpoint from our house. You know what I mean? So that's the kind of thing that, again, if you're not upper class, that's just kind of like and again, I don't know how things are now.
Yeah.
But that's the reality of growing up in a country like that.
Yeah.
back
So
then.
you worked it out in your art, you think?
I mean, at least certainly some of well, my family could be religious. Religion is a big thing in Guatemala. I think a lot of that growing up with, I don't want to say anything wrong. This is my experience, but from what I remember, Guatemala, the general feeling of everybody is like everybody's just under a constant like fear of something. And then I moved to America, and I love America because it was such a like change and shift. You know what I mean? And I actually was undocumented in this country for a long time, but I very much so didn't live like I was. You know what I mean? Like I was like, oh my God, you can do anything here. You know, and I mean that's not really true, but that's how it felt.
Did you, just out of curiosity, because I just got my green card, but you eventually worked your papers and now
Yep.
you're legal?
I had a green card for 2 years now, so I'm on to get my permanent green card, and then probably try to be a citizen soon after that. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, I hope I become a citizen too. I don't know. As long as I'm allowed to be here and work, I'm good. It could be called whatever. But I like to be legal. I didn't want to be an illegal alien here.
Right.
I like to be legit because then, like, you know, I'm investing into this place. I want to be part of the game officially, not
course.
just like, ooh.
I think like things like the way you come here help, right? This is just the truth. I have a lot of friends, and I worked with a lot of people who did, you know, like jump the border. I mean, my best friend from like middle school, as a little kid, he had to cross the border, and his story was crazy. It's like the journey, it's dangerous, dude. He could have died.
Right.
You know, and then you come here, and there is a thing about like, well, I can really blend in with America. Like I look very white. You know what I mean? I hate to admit it, but I think that almost worked to my benefit a few times in my youth when I was doing crazy shit that's not right, and I came across authority, you know, and that's something I think about a lot. I mean, I don't think it's right. You know, I feel like immigration is like the most natural thing, and borders are just like birds, you know, they're not flying and seeing lines in the ground, you know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
But I do understand the need for like
Security.
Hey, like there's a lot of people here and we only got so many resources, so we're gonna allow some people to come through, but not like millions and millions and millions, like nonstop. That can
Everybody's just chasing
unbalance.
safety though. Not everybody, right? Because Guatemala can also be a very dangerous country, and there's a lot of gang violence, and I know for a fact that some of the people that have crossed the border you probably don't want them here, you know? But there's also, it's like, well, first of all, I don't understand politics. I'll be honest. I'm not intelligent enough to give my opinion about something so broad that even the people that talk about it don't really truly understand it. But seeking safety is like such a human, natural thing, especially if you have children, if you have a wife, even for yourself. you want to be somewhere where you can thrive. If I was in Guatemala, I would not, very likely not be an artist with an art studio in a historic neighborhood, making a living, doing what I love. So,
Yeah.
of course, policy is important, but it's again, how do you separate one thing from another? Because how do you justify, like, let's say, like we got to a point where, like, and again, I don't want to talk about politics.
No,
but
this
like,
is not even about politics.
people are taking their children out of school because they're afraid the little children are gonna get deported. I went to school as an illegal. What's up? You know what I mean? Like, I fucking went through it, and I did well in school here, and as it should, like.
But then you also did the steps to be like, oh, you know what? I want to be part of this country, and you do it legit, like.
But it comes down to not everybody's able to do the steps properly, because we have family here, and that helps a lot, right? So we can move here and be petitioned here, but it all changes depending on what country you're from, how you got here, how well documented you are, what you did when you got here. So yeah, I always try to do things right. However, I came on a plane, so I had a visa, but it's a traveling visa. You know what I mean? I really tend to just look at things from more like a humane point of view. And yeah, you want to live somewhere that's safe, but you could easily be somebody who is more upper class. Like, I knew this guy, and super nice guy, and he came here from Italy with his family, and he has something called DACA, which is deferred action for childhood arrivals. So people like me, like dreamers who came here as kids, could apply for a work permit, you know? Just like somebody who might cross the border as a little kid could also apply for that. And those two groups are so different, you know what I mean? Because my friend who's Italian, their family opened a big business, and he quickly got his paper. It's very expensive.
Yeah.
It's super fucking expensive. So it's about your resources. If I don't know how the world works, but in my opinion, it should work. Like, there should be a system to, like, be able to detect who's here doing things properly and who isn't. And it shouldn't be like, and also the reality that some people are just more able to be able to alienate a group of people and think this whole fucking group is the same thing and they should not be here.
That's unbalanced. I think there's a balance between like nobody else can enter and everybody can enter. There's somewhere in between where it's like, okay, some, and let's check them out. And as you said, how do we check them out? In Canada, because my wife was from Belgium and she applied to be Canadian, it's a points system. It's like, what's your age? Youth is desired, so that gives you points. Are you healthy? Health is desired, so we don't have to like spend money on you to keep you alive. So that gives you more points. What's your education? What's your skills? What's your jobs? What are you bringing to the table? Are you actually coming in with some money, or are you just coming to take the welfare? So like all those things are observed, and I'm not the one to say who deserves it or not. But I once again, from being married to a Belgian woman and going to Belgium a lot, you could see how their society got a little bit unstable when you threw thousands to millions of Moroccans on it. And they're a totally different culture, and they don't want to learn the language, and they just want to like create a mini Morocco in middle of Belgium, and the Belgians are so different, and the cultures start clashing, and then there's violence, and it's like, so...
See, I can't speak to that.
Tricky,
however, I did find that, like, for example, I came here young enough to where I was able to blend right in. You're still a kid. You're learning everything, so now you're just kind of Americanized. Yeah. But I had family members who would come here and think like you don't want to leave a place that you're leaving because it's terrible and then come here and expect that this place does all the same things that a terrible place did. You know what I mean? I also think that, things evolve, right? So if you're in a country and immigrants come, the nature of that is that some generations down the line, you might actually adopt some of the things those immigrants brought to you. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I think you said it when you said it's unbalanced. It's all like, how do you bring balance to a world that there's so many people and there's so many bad places and only so many good places. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
it's tricky because I want everybody to be happy.
Right.
But the ideal is to go to these, to help these places get better as opposed to run away from
You
the
can't
shit.
help someone like it has to be almost like
And I don't think
from
that's,
within places have to get better.
yeah.
You can't give
It's
somebody
a long conversation. There's lots of work to be done.
I don't want to, there's everything, right? So let's say like most of my family is hardworking people with good values who believe in doing things ethically. But let's say like a few, I don't know, let's say uncles, distant uncles, back in the 90s, you'd hear things like, in America, you don't have to work, they just give you money. So yeah, people who think like that have come to America. I'm not like that. I came with a mentality, dude, I work way too hard.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
I work really hard and I did much more when I was younger. That's also a bad thing because I feel like a lot of people from Central America, maybe more like Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador, will move to America and become naturalized. And then you just work hard, work hard. But the thing about this country is that you can work hard and like kind of like build a reward. You know, you think about like, oh, what's gonna happen when I retire? Like, how long do I want to do this kind of work? Like, I have that mentality. Like, I don't want to just work hard, work hard, work hard, and then like one day I'm just dead. Like, that sucks, dude.
Right. Well, I love to see that you've naturalized and that you're living the American dream as me, myself,
Oh,
too.
it was so hard, but it was so much easier for me than some people that, I can't say anything about the people that don't do it. Because some people have to wait 20, 22, 25 years, depending on what country you're from and how you got here. And, some of them come here as children, little children that don't make that decision and live here. And some people get deported after living in America for 20 years
That
and then go
sucks.
back home and have zero family. So, you know what I mean? I think like more than anything, I really have, my opinion again, once again, is you should just do the right thing wherever you are. And there should be systems that can support that. And it's up to us to build those systems, right?
Totally.
It is a thing that we came here because it was nice here. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because there's resources or there's freedom. Say like Canada has everything that the United States
But fuck,
has.
dude, then you stay in your country and what? You like hope to make a change country? Like what? You like start fighting corruption? You know what I mean? Like people will fucking kill you, dude. You know what I mean? Like some people just want to be chill and live good lives and do things right and be able to prosper. Not everybody's capable of change. You know what I mean? It's like,
I don't think it's our role neither, but you can be aware of it. I left Canada because I just couldn't tolerate the politics of 2021 from Canada. It was like I can't live here anymore. I'm out. Even though I left my apartment that I owned there, and I ended up living in a basement for a year, just because I just couldn't. I was not at peace because of my governance, because of the
I mean, they
prime
wanted us to
minister
have like
being
vaccine
menacing
cards
towards
here and
me
shit,
and
but people in Florida, I just worked. I just kept, honestly, when COVID hit, I just kept kind of like working, you know what I mean?
That's what I like.
Dude,
Just
living my
your,
life.
Do your thing. I'm doing my thing. Don't judge others. Don't insult others. Don't make others feel like they're criminal just because they don't trust Babylon system. But anyways, let's get back about your art. Are you influenced by Salvador Dali, who has a museum so close to here?
Yes and no. So when I moved to America, in fifth grade, we took a field trip to the Salvador Dali Museum, the old museum because they changed it, but we already had the artwork. And I remember being a little kid and walking in there and being like, holy shit, these paintings are like 14 feet tall. And I didn't know that existed because I'd only seen art in art books.
Right.
My dad always had art books. I would see art in Guatemala, like in books, or I really was really influenced by my dad used to listen to a lot of music. So we had a cool record collection. So I would look at like the Black Sabbath album covers or the Pink Floyd album covers. And that was like, I just thought that they were so cool. I didn't even know the music, bro. But Dali was an influence. And then also not because when I started painting, maybe I was, you start by kind of like copying your influences. And at some point, you want to get to a point where you're Carlos and not Carlos who paints like so-and-so.
You don't want to look like other people.
You really don't, right?
Yeah. Do you think it gets tricky when you're painting, not that Alex Gray owns the insides of bodies, many people have done that before, but say in the current psychedelic visionary stuff, when you throw some visions of inner parts of bodies, like Do people say like, "Oh, that's like Alex Gray," and you're like, "I disagree," because he's
I don't
not
get it
putting-
that often.
No?
I think the reason that maybe when you and I talk, it comes up is because we are both kind of like in that visionary art world, so it's easier to bring up Alex Gray. Believe it or not, there's a lot of people that, like, you find this crazy. I find it crazy. There's people in the art world in Tampa that you like bring up well-known visionary artists, and they don't know who they are.
Oh yeah,
So-
visionary are
and
super small.
Alex Gray really did kind of like the section of the entire being, right? So yeah, some paintings are muscle structures, but I mean something a little different when I paint those, I think.
Oh no, you're doing your
Yeah,
own
I
thing,
mean-
but I can see how that could bring an echo or something.
Oh, yeah.
And we all inspired by him to some degree.
Mm-hmm.
Even if we don't do art like him, we can be inspired like, wow, he's doing amazing work. He's making community. Like, what a great thing to strive for.
Oh yeah.
And you were
absolutely.
telling me before that you like interviewed him when you were younger.
I think it was 2010, 2011, something like that. And I was young, and I had an opportunity to interview Alex Gray and Allison Gray at like a Universal Church in St. Pete. I'm not sure where that is anymore. And it was very cool. I was very nervous because I had already become a fan of Alex Gray. And it was a cool experience. The interview, I'm shaking the whole time. My questions kind of suck.
It's up there on YouTube.
I think it might be, but I
Nice.
have a little DVD copy of it. Like
Okay, nice. Oh, it's great. Have you been to Cosm yet?
no, not yet. Yeah,
Yeah.
not yet. But I want to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Check it out, man.
Yeah.
I think your art fits in there. There's like, yeah, it's the whole visionary art scene. It's small, but it's growing, and there's like, that's a healthy pocket of it, a good community center. Here we got visionary artists in the Tampa Bay area, like Anya's out there in St. Pete
Sure.
also, and I would say Pale Horse is a visionary
Oh, yeah,
artist
of
in his
course.
own way. But there's not like, something very unified around here other than people know each other and I invite people to my house parties or I'll go to somebody's art show. But yeah, I don't know.
So
like,
what do you appreciate more? Something that is recognized in everywhere, or something that's kind of like a little secret? You know what I mean? Like a little bit more hidden. Because I love hidden things, and I know, and I don't want them to stay hidden long, because people should see incredible things. But I can tell you, the best artists I've met throughout my lifetime are the artists that no one will ever know, and it eats at me and it sucks. But it's also that much more incredible when it's out there, because it sort of stands out. I think.
Yeah, for me, art that's undeniably good will become popular by its own weight. And when it doesn't, sometimes you get kind of shocked. Same with musicians. You'll find an album and you'll be like, what the fuck? Like, this album existed all along and I'm only hearing it now and this is so good, but like, why didn't anybody tell me? But, then we go back to the radio and it's like, here's the 10 bands that became big and all the others get forgotten.
I'm not a big fan of being like, I like visionary art. Let me make visionary art. I'm a big fan of like, let me make my art,
Yeah.
and if it fits within something, then
Yeah.
that's where it should be.
Yeah.
I would never say, this is natural, so I'm not trying to say you're saying something wrong, but you know what I mean? The way we try to describe things is by comparison, right? So if you know a musician that's playing something and you think it's unique, but you think it kind of sounds like a combination of these two things, you're going to tell them that, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? But in reality, I think like every true artist is really trying to find their own identity. Plus, I don't expect that I'll stop making art. So I don't look at it as like, this is the kind of art I make, that's it. Like, I want to keep building on it and improving it. As a matter of fact, I'm taking the next, like, I really made some time for myself to sit in my studio in the next few months and create more art that I think will line up with visionary art, just because I know what those concepts look like. And it will be more, because this is old. This painting's old, and a lot of the bigger paintings of this caliber that I've done a little older now, because I've done so many different things.
Yeah.
But definitely now I'm wanting to dive back in and start doing large work again, and huge triptychs and big canvases, and like these kinds of sketches, I think, start leading towards that. There might be a little bit more of a combination with the whimsical, weird little characters and stuff like that, but ultimately it's gonna be. I consider this type of art piece to be more of a profound experience
Yeah.
than, let's say, a doll. That's more gratifying. That was more like me being a little kid making things for
Yeah,
fun.
yeah,
You know?
yeah. No, you're trying to get deep, and when you want to just pull the thread of that aspect of yourself, and not every art piece you do is a big, deep ode to reality, because there's a time to philosophize, and there's a time to skateboard, and there's a time to drink a beer and forget about things. I hope you didn't mind me saying before that your art is almost like Alex Gray and Salvador Dali meeting. Hopefully it's
That's a huge compliment.
yeah, that's supposed to be a compliment. But I also understand when people tell me like, "Oh, your art's like Alex Gray's." I'm like, I don't think so. But
Dude,
I
there's
understand
probably
why.
hundreds of artists out there who are told that their art looks like Chris Dyer.
Possibly.
Oh no, like
And
undeniably. Are you kidding me?
I don't know, but yeah, how annoying for those people, because those people just want to be themselves, not like somebody else. So I think it's both. I can't help it sometimes when I'm like, oh, I can catch like that painting back there. It's like, oh, that's got a little bit of Autumn Sky, or her newer work, because also Autumn Sky, how do you like generalize it in one painting, But or like even Nicole Papalotti. Palapoli, I can never say her name right.
She's such an incredible painter.
She's a great painter.
Oh my God,
and,
she's so good.
And she's awesome. And we went to her studio in New York. I interviewed her too. And she was doing like lots of nice facial paintings.
She's got that traditional thing, you know what I mean? Where she's painting, like she's applying all these traditional ways of painting to the type of art that she makes.
Right.
Yeah.
Are you painting with oil?
Yes. But I just want to, this painting back here, honestly, that's kind of like an underpainting. It's not very clean. I'm really trying to, I met this incredible artist from Cuba. He's down the street here in Ybor. His name is Junior. And he's so talented that it makes me mad. He so knowledgeable with traditional art, and he knows like the masters, because in Cuba, you have to seek information. You know what I mean? There's like, people are hungry for learning things, and he would go to the library and educate himself, because there's not a lot of industry. There's no industry. No one's paying you to make art out there. He sold art in fairs to like tourists and stuff like that. But he's just, maybe even arrogantly so, but he deserves it, such a like knowledgeable painter. And yeah, I think I want to start applying more like traditional techniques that were improved and by the masters, and start putting that in my art, instead of just kind of like, a lot of my art has been me throwing things together, and the art I like to make is like maybe like 5, 8, 10% of the art I make, because I do a lot of commercial art and art for work. I'm a full-time artist, but the art I do for that doesn't look like this. I'm fortunate that I'm able to make art sales and things with this type of art as well, but
we all need a day job, and if your day job is also making art, at least you're keeping your skills sharp, even if you're using it for commercial purposes. But
we had a group of kids walk through here a few weeks ago. They were taking a field trip from an art school, a magnet school, and the thing I kept telling these kids is like, paint things you don't want to paint. Like, pick up an art book and find a painting, and then like try to copy what that artist did, because then you'll really improve as an artist, even if it's things you don't want to paint. And I need to remind myself.
Get outside your comfort zone.
I remind myself in the jobs I'm in, because you're out there painting. Sometimes I do like letterings and signs and things that that you could feel a little demotivated to paint. And then I need to remind myself, like, no, you're practicing something. You're learning how to make really clean lines, or you're learning how to create an art piece that is going to be easily accepted by a mass group of people. Like, I did this big mural at Zoo Tampa, which, by the way, is like an incredible zoo. They've been voted as one of the best zoos in the country. And I was painting like things that made people feel good, like happy facial expressions, and bright colors, things that universally will be accepted. And I wouldn't choose to paint that, but I'm grateful that I get the experience to get paid to do it and figure it out. And, it's a little bit of a sacrifice to not just paint whatever you want all the time, right?
Yeah, totally. No, it's good to stretch yourself in different moments. And
if necessary, trust me, dude, if I could just paint my own stuff, I wouldn't be doing it just for fun. Or maybe I would. Maybe I would get to a point where I just need to. I have a big collection of art books, but like old art books by like Rembrandt and you know what I mean, Egon Schiele, like all kinds of artists.
Yeah.
And when I get stuck, I like to just look at them and figure out color palettes and textures and styles.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. I do the same. And no, it's good that you're playing different video games. It's not how boring it would be to always only have one trick and do it over and over again until you fall asleep. How does psychedelics play part to what you do? Like what you're doing is very trippy and spiritual and once again surreal and etherical, mystical. It seems like, it's the kind of visions one would have, sure, in the dream realm, but also by taking plant medicines or substances. Do you partake?
Not so much these days, much more when I was younger. And from the very first time, my first psychedelic trip was a mushroom trip. And it was a strong mushroom trip. And I was kind of a wild boy back then. I was like 16, 17, and I used to party a lot, man. There were these really cool local parties at this house that they called the school bus. And once a month, they would throw a huge party with live bands, like rock music, like reggae, all kinds of cool shit. And I was a kid. I was like, I remember I met this guy who was just giving people mushrooms just for fun. And I, of course, tried it for the first time. Had a kind of a light trip, but then later text him. Did the sketchiest exchange. Like I was like, hey, I need to buy some mushrooms, blah, blah. He gave me an address of a vacant house and the mushrooms were underneath the stairs. It was crazy. But I did it. And I went home with a few friends and we had a really deep trip. And the only way I could describe it is that I feel like I was like, oh, I remember this. You know what I mean? Like, I remember, like, oh, yeah, that's right. And a lot of, I think, what was really deep rooted within my subconscious kind of like bloomed. And I felt a lot of connection. You know what I mean? I felt like, I understood how everything's connected. You know what I mean? And that leaves you at some points in life if you're not practicing, but it always comes back. And I think even if you never touch a plant medicine in your life, you're going to experience this at some point or another. You know what I mean? Maybe when we die. I think that must be one of the most wonderful experiences that we just don't know it,
Life in general is the biggest psychedelic, that's for sure. Yeah. But it is nice to have little aids of our friends.
Right. Well, and then I did trip quite a bit when I was younger, and I always enjoyed manageable. I only had like 2 very strong like trips, and they were incredible.
And this
maybe
is mushrooms or
mushrooms mostly. Yeah. I tried DMT twice.
How was that?
That was incredible. It was
Tell me
wonderful.
about it.
It was very like expansive. You know what I mean? It was like every direction all at once.
Yeah.
That's the only way I could describe it. It was like more of like seeing outside of the matrix.
Does it feel like it's real, or do you think it's a trick of the brain?
I think it's both.
Oh, really?
I think it's both.
Because it almost feels like you got hit in the head by a donkey or something.
It was nothing like mushrooms, that's for sure. And it was very strong. I also want to mention that I had a friend when I was younger. He was one of my close friends, and he was eccentric already. Super eccentric, cool guy. He played every instrument. He was a painter. And we did a lot of psychedelics in like high school, and he didn't have a good reaction to it. And I think about him a lot because I feel like he didn't know how to come back.
Yeah. Well, that's super important, Carlos, because like in our scene or art movement or whatever, using psychedelics is encouraged. Like I microdose today. I'm pro mushrooms and plant medicines, but I also know it's not for everybody. Like my uncle, Tío Alan, que en paz descanse, he did too much acid at age 15 and he never came back. And for the rest of his life, he just couldn't live a
I also
normal
think
life.
acid is something else, because I did acid and it was never the same as doing like mushrooms. That I think I was fortunate that I always got like, and I'm not super knowledgeable, but it seemed like every time I did it, they were sourced from the right place and by the right people, you know what I mean? And I prepared myself too. Even before the very first time I did it, I was already interested, and I think I was I had like an intention with it. You know what I mean? Like an intention. I mean, intention was certainly to come back, and I enjoy being grounded. I'm okay with living in a very, not always because I can be deep, but I'm okay with like a superficial place in life because I think ultimately we're just experiencing what seems like now. But I think outside of this existence, time isn't really like a factor, if that makes any sense. Sure. And I'm okay with also being in I'm okay with experiencing mundane life a little bit too. Not to the full extent. I don't want a fully mundane life, but
Yeah, no, but it's also nice to live the video game you came to play. Sure, we're spiritual beings outside the matrix, but we came to be humans and take a shit. So might as well enjoy that too.
That's true.
You know, God wants to make it all through us.
Plus, the mind can be tricky. Sometimes it's really easy to get in a mental space of like, this isn't really real. I can do whatever, and that can be a dangerous place to be in if you allow yourself to think you can do whatever. You know what I mean?
There's rules and parameters to this physical realm. If I jump out this window, I will break my legs, probably die. Right. I understand the physical rules of this realm, and I shall not challenge it because I do not like pain. It sounds kind of dumb, but once you come back from that psychedelic trip, you're like, oh my God, like this is just a matrix of reality, and manifesting is like, yes, but there's like time delays and like, how truly are you vibrating that reality and will it come true and all that stuff. So there's lots of parameters, and something that could happen to you when you like disassociate and go into those other realms and you come back to this video game, you're like, what is this shit for? Like, what am I doing here? Like making this art, like what is it all for? And then we're all got like you know, and then we died, which I don't think is a bad thing, but like say my friend Randall Roberts recently was telling me how it just seems like a big disappointment to create a human being like Chris and his art and all that stuff, and then it ends in death. I don't think that's like a negative bad thing, but how do you feel about that?
Well, I think that's what separates us from everything else that we perceive as nature. We want to create, we're curious, we want to experience, you know what I mean? More so than other living things that we know. And I think all things are living in a micro, macro level, you know? But I think what makes us human is that desire. Why do we listen to music? You know what I mean? Why do you get turned on?
What's the purpose?
Like, why do you get turned on when you listen to that one song and like for the first time and it hits you just right? You know what I mean? It is easy to come back because I've dealt with like depression at points in my life, you know, and I can be a person who is susceptible to being a depressed person. So I do try not to get in a mental place of like, what's the point of all this? Like, you know, I think I also like a good spiritual practice outside of plant medicine, which I do try to maintain a good connection to the universe just by being kind of like when I mean, not you, but when I was a little kid, dude, I just like had this huge connection to the spark, if you want to call it that, that as you get older, it gets more difficult because life becomes a little bit less wondrous as you get older.
Maybe you're sitting in the mundane world a little bit too much, and that's when you miss the spark from the spiritual world.
Yeah, but I like missing it, and I like having to come back to it. And every time I feel like I find that place, it always feels like, that's right, I came back, you know? So yeah, depart from home. Get away from, like, you know, there's somewhere deep inside of us, far away, there's this home, this place, this root, this like cause to where we came from. And I think it's okay to depart from it. Fuck it, depart from it through your whole entire life. You're gonna die at one point anyways, you know what I mean? I'm not saying for you, I'm just saying that I think that's okay. I can't depart from it fully. I like an interesting life. Yeah. I like thinking about all the things that make life weird in a way. And I like being curious about things and think to myself the reason why and how we're here and where did we come from and how can I experience life from outside of just that mundane place. But ultimately, I also like having a job and I like having a wife and I like paying my bills on time and shit like that, you know?
Yeah. You want to have a kid and do the adult thing.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like being an artist is like a risky activity. It's like, ooh, I'm gonna do this thing that very easily could not work out, but I love it so much, I'm gonna do it.
Right.
Or do
See,
you?
that I never had. I never believed that you couldn't do. Since I was a kid, I think you could do anything
Uh-huh.
outside of the what's normal, and that's very natural to me. Like I don't struggle. I never struggled with. Maybe minimally, I struggled with. How am I gonna make this work? Like there's opportunity everywhere, and every time a door closes, it's a wonderful thing because now there's like limitless opportunities doing anything else. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think
So you don't get stressed out at all from being an artist?
sometimes, much less. My dad passed away, I told you recently, and I'm a lot less stressed about shit like that now. My parents, they were immigrants in the country, and they stressed about things like finance and what's gonna happen and what's the future gonna look like. And I had a little bit of that, much less than a lot of people in my family, but certainly almost not at all since my dad passed, because now everything just seems like what problems, you know what I mean? Like what fuck, like you just keep doing your thing. Just keep like wake up every day, do what you gotta do, and keep moving forward with it. You can't control all the other moving pieces of life.
Yeah, it's a surrender.
Yeah, surrender. There you go.
You're trying your best to live the life that you're choosing to live and be happy, but also surrendering that you don't control all the parameters, since it's like a group manifestation. Like, we're one manifester, but there's like thousands to millions around us manifesting different things that might influence what we're manifesting. So there's tides and waves, and we work with it, and we also just learn to float where we'll go. Are you confident about the future? Do you have like big goals for yourself, both in life and artistically?
There's goals for sure. I'm much more goal oriented in my 30s than I was ever in my life. But now I'm some investing in things that will help me just make even though I just talked about how it's okay to do art that's not the art you want, I want to get to a point where I'm just creating the art I want comfortably, for the sake of allowing that creative human spirit to come out. I have a lot of creativity, and there's so many things I want to do, but there's limited time. So buying more of that time for myself, creating the art that I think people are excited about and might want, and you know what I mean? They like, if I'm doing 10% of this, like what if I do it like 90%? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What if I just really dive deep and allow myself surrender to the fact that this is the art I should be making? I want to do more of that.
I always think of the paintings that never happened.
What happened?
I always try to think about paintings that never happened.
What do you mean by
So
that?
I'll have an idea and be like, oh, that'd be a great painting that would really express how I'm feeling right now in this moment. But first I gotta travel here, I gotta do this mural, I'm busy, all of a sudden 6 months went by, I don't really have the same yearning to say that, and that painting never happened.
Right.
And it died before I even gave birth. And there's a bunch of those paintings that never existed. But they could have, if I would have made the time and made like my 50%, art time painting, which I myself struggle many times, because as you know, artists, you gotta juggle like 10 balls just to keep things going.
But it's about the why you're making, because time is limited, right? So I think naturally I want to get to a point where I'm creating art just to express that creative energy. It doesn't have to be for a show. It doesn't have to be for anything. It doesn't have to be because I'm trying to prove a point or share an idea, but just to get in that practice where I'm just like, again, just allowing that voice to come out. Because to me, it's not even me. Like art, you know what I mean? Like art comes from somewhere. We just channel it.
Do you think things like your ethnicity or your culture have something to do with the art you want to do? Like, say, like you growing up in Guatemala creates the filter of Carlos that then inevitably injects a little bit of that vibe into a painting, even though it does not look like Guatemalan art at all, or even Latino art at all. But like, what's your interaction between like for being a Latino and making art?
So when I was younger, like, as a teenager, already in America, I became really interested in Mayan civilizations, you know, and things like that,
Mm-hmm.
in ancient civilizations of Guatemala. Super interested in it.
Mm.
And then I was a little disheartened when I finally realized, like, wait a minute, I first of all, I look super white, and there's even though I was like, this is my country, this is our history. The truth is that there's also like a lot of like genetic influence, European influence within my DNA. But my grandmother, she spoke one of the still spoken Mayan dialects. So she spoke Quechua, which is so you
What's
know
it called?
Quechua,
Quechua.
Quechua, yeah.
Wow.
And I she taught us how to say like eat shit in Quechua. That's the only thing I know how to say. And but she spoke it fluently, which is wild. You know what I mean? Like, dude, she was from Guatemala, but she spoke like a Mayan dialect.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And somewhere deeply within my genetics, there's definitely influence of everywhere I might have came from before this life, I think. Also, again, growing up in Guatemala, where things might feel limited, but then being in America, it also feels like there's no excuse not to do my art. Sometimes I can't sleep at night because I'm like, what are you doing? Like, you're literally in a place right now where you should be making your art. Like, get up and do what you're supposed to be doing. So there's that perspective, you know, of you come from a place where things feel a little bit like there's less resources, and you're now in a place where there are resources.
Abundance.
Yeah, like, okay, well then get your ass up and do shit about it, you know?
Make the most out of it. Don't take it for granted.
Mm-hmm.
Don't just be lazy just because things are easier.
It's so easy to become comfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that bad?
It's anything bad? You know what I mean? Like, you know,
Suppose
that's
not.
perspective.
Yeah. No, it's like it's whatever fits your vibe.
It's
and-
bad if it's eating at you the next day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Trust me, I want to go home right now and like play Zelda.
Yeah.
And I don't even play video games. That's just what I want to do. But I have to keep myself from it.
That's
Because
the second time. It like yesterday also Zelda came to me and be like, Breath of the Wild, gotta play that game. But it's like I need to like schedule myself for like a week.
Because I
for
never
that.
played video games, and when my dad got really sick, I was so stressed that my brother gave me his Switch. So I have, Breath of the Wild.
Oh,
and it's
man.
when you haven't played games since you were a kid and you play now, you're like, wait a minute, this is like a whole world, and I can like cook food and make myself elixirs, and you can like it's like a world, and it's very submersive, and I can see why it's also easy to.
Escape.
So easy to control it, you know, and you're in charge there, you know, and then
You can be a superhero there.
yeah, but it's also, to me, it's dangerous because there's so many things to be doing out here. It's
Yeah.
just harder because you
could be
get
a-
tired out here, and your body hurts out here, and you know what I mean. You have to pay for gas out here and shit, you know.
Yeah, and you could be the superhero of your own video game, aka life, but it's scary to come up and be like, hey world, here I am, here's my art, here's what I gotta say. Like, you know, it's you're putting yourself out there in the spotlight as an artist.
I encourage people doing scary things though.
No, I do it. Like that's my
Well, I'm
life,
sure.
and I'm happy you do it too.
I
But
try
it's
to.
like a decision, and a lot of artists who are very talented at painting a painting, they don't want to go out there and be like, "Hey, world, I'm this artist, and this is what I do." They just want to be like, you know, hidden in their studios. But it's difficult, as we say, to like your homie, the Cuban painter, I think he said. He sounds like so good, but I never heard of him, and that's maybe like what a pity that a lot of talent doesn't go out there. The whole art world's a different discussion, because there's so much like bad art that's like supposed to be the pinnacle of modern art, and says who, and who are these people who have turned art into some kind of intellectual exchange, and then there's so many great talented people who can't pay their bills. And
But if you have the ability to create some bullshit art and convince the world that it's incredible, and then you're successful, and then you get to go on your vacation home and take care of yourself and your family, like, okay,
That's an art too.
from my point of view, like you suck. You're providing something that's not quality, but in reality, like maybe that, like you're saying, that's an art too, and like I can also respect it, and it's all about perspective,
it's
right?
the art of the hustle in that case.
I would love to. I do encourage that, live in a world where we celebrate quality and we celebrate things with integrity and value and humanistic value and
Originality.
originality. Thank
Yeah,
you.
meaning,
Right.
purpose. Positive, but I think negative is also needed in the reflections that we
It's
must
so
come
wild
up.
to put on the radio and see like what music is out there and be like, dude, where is like the thing in this that is like unique and it sounds like nothing else? You know what I mean? Like you should put on the radio and hear all the weirdest things that sound like nothing else sounds. You know what I mean? But it's easy to live in that world.
And also the subject matter is just become more primitive in a way. I don't know, like maybe, yeah, whenever I hear anything that comes from like a radio, I'm like, wow, this is what normal people are listening to? Jeez, that
You know what really blew my
sucks.
mind? Before I went to the music festivals to paint, I never been to a music festival. I used to go to like rock shows when I was a kid. And I kind of live under a rock. I really do. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with experiencing things as they come. And my mind was blown because I thought, oh, it's a festival. It's going to be a bunch of hippies. It's going to be rock music. And a lot of festivals are not like that. And no disrespect, I think that there's good music in every genre of music. You know what, personally, like I'm, for example, not like a big EDM guy. You know, it's just, it doesn't resonate with me the way it does with other people. So, but it was surprising to go to places where we're supposed to celebrate these things and to find that it looks so different from what I expected. At least when it comes to the music part of it. And of course, again, there's good music in every genre. It's just a matter of the artist and what their intention is. And, you know,
Yeah.
I think people are eager to listen to something with originality, even if they don't know it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, as you say, there's goods in every genres. Like, there's a lot of, electronic music that I'm just like, that's too aggressive, or that's too random, or that sounds like, very apocalyptic robot battle. And
That sounds cool to me,
But
though.
I liked heavy metal as
Right,
a
exactly.
kid. I was like fucking Sepultura, just fucking wanting to break shit.
Yeah.
And that was where I was at in my 20s. And now, when I listen to it, I can get into it, but I don't want to listen to metal all day. That will distort my own frequency and take me to places that I don't want to vibrate anymore.
Yeah, I like listening to metal when I drive, like thrash metal. If I'm driving, okay, fine, I'm driving. You know what I mean? Or if I'm like in a part of my life where I'm working out more, I'll listen to some thrash
Working
shit,
out,
some Slayer,
skateboarding is great.
Right. But I'm also I like this part of my life because there's less rules to the music I like. When I was younger, now I listen to things I would have never touched as a kid. That like it was to turn off, and now I get into it, and I'm like, oh look, I'm at an age where I can appreciate this more kind of like boring
Started
thing.
listening to Enya?
I don't even know what that is.
It's some cheesy 90s music. So what's the rock bands you used to like back in the day as a kid?
I grew up listening to metal, classic rock, punk music. Yeah,
Like, tell me some bands.
Suicidal Tendencies, Sepultura, Death, Napalm Death, like Zeppelin. I like some of the hard rock bands they're not as popular, like Budgie, Cactus, bands like that I like a lot.
Okay.
I mean, Tampa had a huge death metal scene.
Oh, yeah?
And when I was in school and you were a kid, that's what people were listening to. We were listening to Slayer, Cradle of Filth, so newer bands, not only classic things. Yeah.
Metallica is coming to town. Do you like Metallica?
I like Metallica's like a few albums. First 4 albums. I'm
Five,
not
maybe.
eager to go to a Metallica show, but I'm a huge Pink Floyd fan. So I'm not a huge Roger Waters fan, but when I was younger, he came into the wall. I had to be there.
Yeah.
And I don't want to disrespect. It kind of sucked because it's not Pink Floyd. It's Roger Waters doing the wall, but it was awesome and I enjoyed it.
His voice is so.
And then recently I was listening to one of his solo albums and fell in love with it.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
Nice. I like David Gilmour's solo albums too.
Yeah, me too. They're good.
There's a few on records, but I bought tickets to the Metallica show. I'd never seen Metallica. I
Okay.
used to love them so much as a kid, and they were coming to Tampa June something. But June 6th, I think.
I don't get to shows anymore, but I was disappointed that I missed Deftones and the Mars Volta in Orlando because those are bands I love.
Yeah.
And I don't expect that the Mars Volta will sound like what I love about Mars Volta because it's a different time and
They
artists
evolve.
get older. That's perfectly normal. Best show I went to is in Orlando is Cafe Tacuba, right? If
Ah,
Cafe Tacuba came to do a show around here,
yeah.
I will be there.
I caught Café Tacuba. No, I'm thinking of Manu Chao. Café Tacuba,
Manu
I'd
Chao's the
love
shit.
to see. Actually, I've just bought the record Re from Café Tacuba. It's so good and
Such a good
original,
album,
like
yeah.
like Latino, alternative.
Damn, how
rock.
much was that record? That I mean, you don't have to tell me right
It
on the
was
podcast.
like 40 to 50
Oh,
bucks.
that's not
I bought it
bad.
in Peru too, so
Oh,
it was
hell yeah.
in soles.
You're not gonna
like-
find that out here.
no. Like when I go to Peru, I bought like all my Latino rock. I bought
Yeah.
Prisioneros, I bought Soda Stereo, and each one of those it's chunky, but like now, I
It
got
was
on
cool to
wax.
find that music when I was a kid because nobody knew that here. Because it's America. So when I found those like staple like Latin American bands, like I really gravitated towards
They're
them.
really good.
Yeah.
It's like there's a whole genre of amazing 80s rock that just happens to be in Spanish, but the sounds is like very aligned to what's happening in America, but with its own flavor. And if you know Spanish, I appreciate the lyrics because they're more unique. They're talking about different things than a gringo would talk on their songs.
It's true.
Yeah, a lot more sex.
Yes, it's true.
Oh yeah, but anyways, I don't think I'm going to be able to go to that Metallica show. I gotta sell my tickets. That's on my to-do list.
Oh, because you're traveling.
I
to...
gotta go and paint at a festival that
Oh,
weekend.
man.
So I bought the ticket just in case because it's like I gotta catch Metallica before they die, and I don't think I'm gonna. So yeah, if you're looking for somebody who wants to buy some Metallica tickets, but that's probably not you because they've also turned into a different band. All bands evolve, I suppose.
I'm sure it'd be a great show. It would have to be the right time for me to be like, sure, I'll go to that. No disrespect to Metallica or whatever.
Yeah. Carlos, it's been so nice to be here in your studio and have this conversation with you. Would you have some final words of wisdom to the young artists who tune in to this show?
That's kind of a hard question. I forgot you said we were going to ask me that at the end.
Yeah, words of wisdom. What recommendations would you have to a young artist that's like thinking, or like maybe they're doing their art, but like, shit's scary because the economy is tricky and you're doing this thing that maybe people will buy your art or maybe not, and then what will happen if you don't succeed? But like, how can I get some balls to do it?
Make a decision. Are you going to do it or you're not going to do it? If you're going to do it, just do it. And dive in and don't look back and stop thinking that somebody out there is going to have try to make a living where you don't. It's easy to be young and think you're going to be discovered. That doesn't really exist like that,
Yeah.
No one's going to discover you.
Yeah.
Do all the things, you know what I mean? Follow all the opportunities and just keep making art and get in your studio and try to improve on your art. I think that's a big one. Mm-hmm. Don't do something that your friends and loved ones celebrate and think you're good. Try to find somebody who's going to be critical of your art.
Yeah.
Try to find someone who's going to tell you when your shit's whack.
Yeah.
I think that's really important.
Yeah, totally. Because it's that conversation about comfort once again, like, oh, I'm comfortable. I'm like, chilling. Is that a bad thing? No, maybe you want to do art that's comfortable and then you accept that or you just already have found an art that works and people like, and then you just mess it up and it's like, okay, I'm starting from zero. Let's do some bad paintings. That's what I've been trying to do a lot this year. I'm not trying to do bad paintings. I'm trying to do new approaches to doing art, and that requires failing. So I'll end up with a painting that just didn't hit, and I can be kind of disappointed. But like at least I'm searching and discovering and looking and trying things.
I know this is not what you're saying, but I actually think that trying to do a bad painting is a good exercise. Yeah, try to do a bad painting. What does that look like to you?
Right, do a bad painting on purpose.
Yeah.
Damn.
Like, can you even do a bad painting?
Because my nature is to want to make it work out.
Right.
Like my brain wants to work it out. Like I've been battling this painting this week, and I want to succeed at it. I don't want to fail at it. So I'm gonna keep on working it till get it just right. And that's the fun of art.
Hang like upside down and paint or something weird like that,
Yeah. My friend Justin Bua would say, draw with your other hand.
Oh shit.
Your other hand that you're not good at. Now start painting with the other hand, and let's see how good you do, and see if you can get good with it.
there's all these cheesy exercises I learned in school, like one-line drawings or like set up a time and just paint within that time. These are good exercises. You know, I don't find it fun to do, but you know, yeah, you know, you'll evolve in one way or another. I don't know.
Totally.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much once again, Carlos. Much love to you, brother. It was
Thank you,
so
bro.
nice to be here. And thank you guys for watching our episode of Chris Dyer's Creative Friends. Make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, all those boring things you don't want to do, but you love me so much, you will go and smash that button right now. And once again, big thanks to Yak Snacks. I'm feeling amazing right now. My mood is gonna be beautiful for the rest of the day, and actually for eternity. Why not? So have a good one.
Can I plug real quick?
Yeah.
Carlos_Pons on Instagram.
Woo! Check him out, follow him, and thank you to you guys. I'll see you next time. Blessings! Woo!
So much fun.
Yo! Next episode, Anchor Ball.
You need the commercial success. Obviously, we want to make a living being artists. So I was immediately hooked to designing and rendering sculptures every day. I'd make myself design them in 3D so they could be made. And I never wanted to let the inner child stuff go, because I think you realize that in life. It's like, here's childhood, your inner child stuff, which is playful and fun. And then you look at the adults and like, definitely don't want to do that.
No.
I mean, AI came along at a great time. I mean, who would have thought we'd have something like this, you know, in our lives? I feel like I already was in my heart, already feeling super connected to things, but it just exposed those connections, you know, to the larger picture of life, of God, of seeing, you know, the divinity in creation, of seeing interconnectedness, of having visionary experiences of who we are, what this life is about.
So please make sure to subscribe, like, comment, and share. Big thanks, and see you next episode. Peace.